We back. We back and 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 we back. Raps just made me anxious and acid made me crazy. Sweats just made me looser, that wax just made me lazy. And I still make this song, and I'm gonna make another. If you ever actually hit me, better watch out for my brother. Even better than I was the last time, baby. Ooh, 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 ooh. We back? I'm good. Ooh, yeah. I'm good. Better than I was the last time, baby. Ooh, 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 ooh. We back, and 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 we back. Better than I was the last time. Raps just made me anxious, and acid made me crazy. And squares just made me looser, that wax just made me lazy. And I still make this song, and I'ma make another. If you ever actually hit me, better watch out for my brother. Better bet I'll take that deal. Gotta watch out for my mother. Get a watch with all that glitters. Come in clutters, different colors. Been a baller, been for butler, chauffeur, hit a stainer. Did I stutter? Did a ton of drugs and did better than all my alma mater. Motherfucking money dance, honey's in, Galilee. Make a joke about Leno's head and piggyback on balance fleet. Balancing on sport density and fucking pure joy. Nightly searches for our bed, and I just came off tour with Troy. But I can't complain, I got some motherfucking business. How many lap partners have I fucked since I got suspended? Mr. Bennett, you did it, you did it, you did it, you did a good ass job. You did a good ass job, and I'm good. I'm good. So good. Work, bang, nigga, bang. Twerk, merge, work, bang. Pick up plane, flip a bird, pigeon plane. It's a word, it's a shame. But God, I'm good, so I could be better kicking dirt on the shirts and the legs. Keep a tab on my exes, keep some X on my tongue. Keep my work out in Texas, that's just me flexing my lungs. See them showing they teeth, that's just them flapping they gums. If they biting, I'm snapping, clap, clap, collapsing the lung. Call me Chancellor the rapper, please say the rapper. Magical word, please say Cadabra. Replay the replays, Green Bay the Packers. Cremate your teammates and freebase the ashes. Matches the gas leaks, dust to dust till dawn. It's just us and trust your bottom, bitch. My stuff a fucking bomb. I'm the motherfucking fucking niggas fucking dumb. It's your face.
All right. All right. Like a minute late. I'm pretty proud of myself. And all right. Can you hear me?
Sure can.
Yes. Sorry.
No, you're good.
How did I do? I was almost a minute away.
Got it, man.
I'm still getting feedback. Are you getting echo on this pub?
A little bit, but it's not terrible.
Okay. Sorry, I've got like a 3-second like delay and I'm hearing everything again.
No worries. Take your time, man. I've got nowhere to be and all the time in the world to get there. Oh, man.
No. I might just have to deal with that. All right. Here we go.
Let's do it.
All right. Bob is here. Thank goodness. Otherwise, it'd just be me mumbling to myself. Bob, how was your weekend?
It was a weekend, man. Shohei and Mookie showed out at the end of the week, which was pretty fantastic, if you ask me. And
Yeah.
man, I was pretty content, honestly. I wasn't expecting a lot from this weekend, and things just sort of worked. And so we're all for it, man. You know how it goes.
Nice.
Yeah. How'd you do?
Let's see. I did well in the chases, I think. I need to check, but yeah, I mean, I'm not up with cribs, but I'm doing all right. There it is. Oh my goodness, I found it. Sorry, I had YouTube open in the background so I could copy the link before. Oh, man, that was really bad. Well, now I know exactly how long the delay is for everyone that's listening. It's about 3 seconds. All right. Yeah, no, it's really hard to follow a conversation when you've got that same conversation following you like 3 seconds later.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, this chase week I had fun with it. I always have fun with this stuff, though. My teams were not great, but we managed to grab a couple of rewards here and there. So, we take it, right?
Nice. Yeah, for sure. Where did my window go so I can find out how I did? There we go. Let's see if we can share that. But yeah, I need to. So anyway, I had like a rundown up for a second. Apparently, Ketel Marte's out, which is great. I had literally just put him into my chase lineup, so I've got that going for me, which is nice. Stop screen, share screen. There it is.
Yeah, I've been so busy with work today, Kev, that I had no idea that Ketel was out. So this is
really someone commented in here. Thank you, whoever that was.
Limited National League. You need to clean that up.
Lublal.
Oh, yeah, Ketel was on fire last week.
Yeah, I think I probably played him for whatever worst stretch there was. So I was like, I don't know if he's hitting that well, but he has been.
Yeah, he did everything he needed to do. We scored like 95 points or something like that.
Yeah, that was huge. All right, so I'm like 50 points out of a podium spot, 700 points to get up there, but the first and second are got a little bit of a lead. But yeah, I've still got a shot at this, which is great. But that was about my only lineup that did really well. I got like $5 or something like that from one of my champ lineups.
Yeah,
rock on.
Kev, I'm comfortably in 41st place, and I'm only a sparse, 140 points out of first. So, moving right along.
We're doing great.
Just hanging in there. We just do things. Words.
Oh man, did you see my head-to-head league? How that one shook out? I had my worst week in weeks, and it was mostly mismanagement on my part, which is fine.
Well, could you have won if you had managed it better?
I would have had a shot, but I looked at the guy I was playing. I looked at his roster, and I had been winning by a lot of home runs and sometimes stolen bases, and then relievers pitching. I had 3 or 4 starting spots filled with leverage relievers. So I was getting saves. My ratios were great. But the guy was playing easily was going to compete with me there. So I started moving things around, and I ended up playing, like, streaming terrible pitchers. I should have been. This is the last week, so like it's not like you're going to hold on to. I didn't need to be focusing on pitchers. I should have been focusing on hitters. But
Yep.
it is what it is.
I mean, honestly, like where you were mid-season to where you ended up. I mean, when Schwarber gets hot, I mean that's one of the nice things, and it relates directly
Yeah.
to Soder too. When Schwarber gets hot, he stays hot. He hits home runs, right? There's a difference between when he gets hot and when like Luis Ariz gets hot. You know, Luis Ariz can very easily go 15 for 15 with 15 singles, right?
Yeah.
Whereas Schwarber gets hot and he goes 4 for 20 with 4 home runs, right? So, and it's just they're all dingers. But no, I mean, with him and Shohei turning out, it was great. But I mean,
Yeah.
like you said, it usually comes down to the percentages and whatnot. You know, and I was fighting for 5th place, like nothing special about that. But I think I ended up with 2 saves in the last day, which popped me over, made me dominate my week. I was happy with that. You know, overall, you know, the season is always fun, and the long fantasy pieces go together. And I mean, we're already using the tools when Doc creates all the stuff for the app, for the Solar FP app. You know, a lot of that information from Fangraphs and everywhere else is pulled in completely, like bad X data. So like you and I have that data as we're going into the week, so we have a good idea of like where to go and what are the ideal plays are, which makes lineup construction and maneuvering a lot easier, honestly. You know,
Yeah.
and you know where I ran into issues this weekend was that I thought, and I said it on the last podcast, I thought the A's were going to smash in their last foray at the Coliseum, and they proceeded not to do so. And, you know, Juan Soto was surprisingly back without any issues, which was fantastic for all Yankee fans out there. And so he's back into priority lineups now. And, you know, we keep moving forward, man.
Nice. Conversely, I was unfortunately very, very right about what the Twins were going to do, which was lose a bunch of games. Although I guess they lost the ones on Sunday by more runs. So that, I guess that works too. Yeah, Buxton's numbers over the past, like since he came back from injury, are pretty insane right now, which is nice at least. But man,
but how do you trust Buxton? I mean, Buxton is just
he's
a sniffle away of going on the 60-day IL constantly.
That's, you know, so last season with Buxton, where they were, you know, trying to figure out like how do we, you know, maximize his time on the field, and so like we'll play him 2 days, rest him 1 day, we'll mostly play him at DH, you know, all whatever. Like that was probably the worst possible, you know, kind of streaming kind of option for Buxton, like whether it was in So Rare or, you know, a week-long one, like. But now, I mean, he's like Jacob deGrom now. It's like if he's playing and he's hitting well, like it's fine that you only have him for half the season or less. But like, I mean, like when he's hitting now, like he can put up huge numbers. Same thing with Matt Olson turning it around, right? Like last season he was on a long hot streak, and so you know he was in a ton of lineups, and then this season as he has throughout his career, like he went through a bunch of, you know, big slumps, but he comes back, you know, like I don't think there's ever been a season where he just stayed sucking the entire season. Like, and when he's hitting. I don't think this is for his career it's been this way, but he's got reverse platoon splits this year where he's hitting lefties better than righties, or at least he was for a bit, which is bizarre. But like he's one of those where I'm like, yeah, no, we'll start him if they're playing all righties. And then at some point, thankfully, I checked and I was like, wait a second, I don't even need to worry about lefties right now. He's hitting them better.
Yeah, you got me smiling when you say that, because like I think back to the All-Star game and the home run derby competition, where Jose Ramirez is a much better home run hitter from the right side, but he's like, nope, I'm hitting lefty. I just feel better today, and he just went at it.
So I was watching his warm up with DJ Local, like we were on the field for that, and and he was hitting him better. For whatever reason, he was pulling better to the to right field. And I texted Alex. I was like, "Your boy's gonna be hitting lefty tonight. I promise." And there he was. Yeah, but yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's crazy how that stuff works. But yeah, sometimes, you know, you're just feeling it one way or the other.
So, and I mean, I love that it's just a feel thing when it comes to something like that. But like, I want to go back to the Twins for a second. You know,
I'd rather not.
So, but I mean, I just in general, because I don't talk Twins ever. I don't own a lot of Twins in my gallery, but the guys I'm excited for every year are obviously Buxton and Lewis, right?
Yeah.
And is there something in the air in Minnesota that just means young guys are going to get hurt? Like, what is in your opinion? You're a big fan. Like, what happens? Is there something about like the way that they do their preseason workouts? Like, is there something going on there that causes some long-term issues that just never resolve itself?
Well, and so I mean, I'm rarely a pouty Twins fan. That's just like ownership is ruining everything. But ownership is ruining everything. And if I had to guess, I would imagine they're not one of the better teams at figuring out how to optimize their players' time. It sounds like they just like throw stuff together. And I could be wrong. And maybe they're putting more money than anyone else in the league, like into their medical and like physio staff. But I mean, I doubt it based on how they, and it's one of those things where it's like, it's not the front office's fault. I mean, not that the front office hasn't made its own mistakes, but like you're never going to get every, dart you throw at a reliever every pick like that. Right. So they would be better off if, a lot of things had happened if Rock Stewart hadn't been hurt. Him and Jax and Duran were, all three of them were guys you would trust whenever, any part of the game, any situation, and Stewart got hurt, and then Jackson, especially Duran, a little bit overworked, right? And like Duran's just not as effective. He's not Emmanuel Clase by any means. He's someone where if he's not rested, like he loses a couple miles an hour, and then I think it's likely something where his movement's not as great, on his fastball. So he needs to be hitting 103 to actually blow it by people. It's like a Hunter Green problem, I would imagine. But for whatever reason, he lost, a couple miles per hour, and and whether that was the injury he had early in the year or being overworked, but like also be nice if you didn't have to overwork him, considering he had an injury earlier in the year. But because they didn't add anyone, they cut their payroll after winning a playoff series for the first time, in 20 years, like a playoff game even. It's been I think they won a game in there, but like it had been a while. But sorry. All right, that's my Twins rant for today. I think I don't think it's anything in the water. I don't think it's, to some degree, it's probably just normal luck. But man, and it's weird stuff like Royce Lewis, like he just blows his knee out going into the center field wall, like his first game, in center field. I don't know, man. Maybe they're unlucky. Who knows? But I know they could be better. They'd spent some money this winter.
I think I've never really dug into injuries too much, Kev, but I feel like Buxton constantly hurt in center field. Royce Lewis, first game in center field, hurts himself. Judge hurts himself last year in center field, right? Like, it's a brutal position, honestly. Like when it comes right down to it, like the amount of area you have to cover, sprinting wise, like the fence is like non-forgiving. Like it's not just like Play-Doh that you're running into here. And I always wonder if there's a higher injury rate at a place like center field versus say right field or anywhere else on the field. And I haven't looked at that data. I'm sure somebody in this here chat has probably looked at it or can look at it pretty quickly, but I'd really be concerned. I really wonder like where it is, like where's the ideal place to play? Because I remember when Judge broke his toe last year, like they're like, we're just going to have you DH. This is just what you're going to do because your bat is more valuable than you crashing into a wall and being a slightly above average outfielder. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because we really do need to talk about Shohei. And I am convinced that Shohei Ohtani should never be pitching again. Like this is the first time we've ever got to see him solely focus on hitting.
Yeah.
And yes, the Dodgers pitching staff sucks, but Shohei is like pitchers pitch once every 5 days, right? And are you willing to give up like potential injury for your shoulder? And you're going to give up productivity at the plate because that's just what happens on physical wear and tear of the body and like extra responsibilities. Is he better being just a hitter, just a DH there who's protected? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, there's like what's best, and part of that is guesswork, but like also like it seems like he wants to pitch, Like he seems like
Yeah,
a guy
but
who just like, I mean, he's to some degree like him and Trout, you know, playing together for so long. Like they both seem like baseball dorks where it's like, I just want to play baseball. Like that's that's what I want to spend all my free time on. Like, and so I mean, I probably wouldn't start him anymore,
Mhm,
but
mhm.
I mean, I would let him pitch an inning of relief whenever he wanted.
Let
You
him be
know,
your closer.
you feel good, like great. Well, and I mean, the way the Dodgers use their bullpen, like he doesn't need to be the closer. Like
Yeah.
you know, it's Kopech some weeks. It's Blake Trinan was the guy that I was trying to think of
Yeah.
last stream. Who is the other guy that has been doing all right in their bullpen? But
Well, I
like,
mean, they had Phillips. They go through Phillips and Gratterall, and like, and they have this
yeah,
rotisserie of like just guys that they use constantly. And I mean, when you say like, I know that he wants to pitch, but that's made very clear. But at the same time, you know, when you're like, hey son, what do you want for dinner? And he's like, I want 2 Kit Kats, a Baby Ruth, and a Snickers bar. You're like, well, no, that's not going to happen. You know, like, you know what I mean? It's just at some point you have to make a business decision. You know,
yeah, yeah. I don't know. I think yeah, I think a leverage reliever role would be fun for everyone, right?
I
Like
mean, I love watching him pitch. He was fun, but I'd much rather like I've been trying to watch every single at bat of his because
yeah,
you know that there's that potential. I mean, the end of that game last night was absolutely fantastic. You know, they're down 5-4 in the ninth inning, and Shohei gets up, and you're like, oh, he's going to do something. Like, why is Colorado pitching him? I know Colorado season's over, but like, you don't
yeah.
want to put the tying run on base because you know he's going to steal 2 bases and Mookie can get a base hit. Like, yeah, I get that, but man, oh man, like that lineup. They have that potential, and it's one of the few lineups that does that. Like, I love watching top of their lineup. The top of the Phillies lineup is a ton of fun to watch, Kev.
Yeah.
And just the more and more I watch it, I mean, the Yankees, like, obviously you want to watch Judge and Soto, but I'm not really interested in anybody else behind that. So I don't know. Shohei is must watch TV. And when you follow him up with Mookie and Freddie Freeman, like, oh man, it's going to be fun to watch, you know, if they can pitch. And that's the big F, right?
Right.
So with that, like, are you going to use, like, do you plan for the playoffs to use any Dodgers pitchers at all for the playoffs? And so rare.
I'd use Yamamoto.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I'd feel comfortable pitching Flaherty, but I mean,
Yeah.
he's been pitching well.
Mhm.
I don't, you know, every start. It's kind of like Lance Lynn. Like even when Lance Lynn's like done really well, you still were like, well, yeah, I mean, he's gonna blow up at any time though, right? And then he would. I feel like, yeah, I certainly wouldn't feel as confident starting him as other guys. It looks like we're going to be able to start Scooble in the playoffs, which is just great. It's great. In terms of So Rare, it's great. Like I put together a Tigers collection, this year. So like, hooray. But yeah,
Are they going to sneak into the playoffs, Kev?
I mean, they've already snuck into the playoffs, Bob. I think
they're going to hold it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
obviously, like that. This is one of the most like these last few games are the most exciting parts of baseball when you get right through it. Because it always blew my mind that you can play 160 games and have teams be within a half game of each other or tied with each other, and it amazes me that after such a long season, like this is what happens, and it's super exciting. And like, I don't know, these are the kind of days where I don't pay attention to work.
That said, it could be better, Bob. For instance, I could not be dreading every Twins game. That would be awesome. Like this hasn't been fun. That said, the Twins, it's been a season of streaks, and like they could turn it around tomorrow. It doesn't feel like they're going to. It doesn't feel like anything's going to go right, and they'll probably lose every game the rest of the way out. So that's fun.
So, do you think like the Twins team psychologist gets fired after this year?
I don't think they have a psychologist.
Or do they get if they make it to the playoffs?
Yeah. Oh, so this is the thing that I forgot to say before with the Twins. I was just kidding. My rant wasn't done. The rest of my rant is they all their players hide their injuries from the team. It's happened so many times. Joe Ryan, Alex Kirilloff, they're like, they don't want to tell the team even when they're hurt. Like it's insane. Like,
so that's an organizational problem though. Like why? Like, why do they do that? Like, That is a massive organizational problem.
Yeah.
This is,
And it's I
mean,
think it's the team doesn't have the resources that are needed to win, and they're not going to. Like unless everything it's a miracle season. Everything breaks right. No one gets hurt. Your rookies are, performing at an insane level, like at the very top of their ability. Yeah, like a season like that, maybe they've got a shot, but like until then, and it's rough when it's they're not that far away from being a competitive team, from having
No.
the starting pitching, from having the bats. It's just frustrating. I'm doing great. I'm doing great with it. I think, I think I feel really positive for the next week.
So, these are areas that I like to talk about because it blows my mind. Like, so from a business perspective, every professional athlete, no matter what sport you're playing, you are the CEO of a small business, a successful small business, right? And you need to take care of your asset that allows you to be a successful small business. So it blows my mind. And I understand that some of these guys are younger and they're afraid and like they just made it up into the big leagues and stuff like that. I understand that there's some reasons to do this stuff. But if you're Joe Ryan, like you don't hide like what's going on. You don't make it worse. Like you have a lifetime here. And baseball is a bit different than football. Like, we're not as concerned about CTE because odds are Nolan Ryan is not going to plug you in the head anymore, right? But like it falls on the player's shoulders to take responsibility, and the team's trainers have to recognize these things too. Like it's very clear when there is something going wrong with a pitcher, like very, very clear when things are going wrong. Like, and you can watch a guy warm up and when these things are happening. And the reason I bring this up again is because number one, they're the CEO of their own company. But we watch guys in the SoRare soccer side, SoRare football side, where if they feel anything pre-match in a warm-up, they just don't play. Like they actually protect their assets. And it blows my mind that either the organizational ideology doesn't allow for that. It's just you play through it. Like the whole like 1970s NFL football mentality of too bad you broke your arm. We're just gonna put a club on it and you're gonna bash people, That's just not the way long, good careers work. Because at the end of the day, your career's going to end, right? And you have to have a life afterwards. So, like, don't keep banging your head against the same steel wall. But anyway, that's me. My rant on mental health in sports. What can I say?
All right. So today's edition of Kevin and Bob rant about the Twins and athlete care and feeding is brought to you by who is going to close for the Twins. I think it's Jax. I think they trust Jax more. So that's the thing. I don't think they change anything. I think Duran's going to get the ninth inning in most cases. But I think Jax is like the Jeff Hoffman where they're gonna throw him at the scariest part, whether it's in the 7th or the 8th or 9th, whenever, and that is our transition to who we playing at closer or at relief pitcher this week. Philly looked good. So we've got Oakland. Mason Miller is certainly in play. How have your A's been doing? Like they lost. Did they get swept by the Yankees?
They got swept by the Yankees. Yeah. So not well. No. Right. I mean, Rooker still hits home runs. Butler still gets on base and gets base hits. Like those things haven't changed. They didn't. No one else was producing. I mean, Garrett Cole pitched 9 1-run ball, 9 innings of 1-run ball, and they lost, and the Yankees won it in extras. Because as it turns out, Oakland went back to the Oakland days of yesteryear, and Oakland's relievers just couldn't hold things together. And that happens, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know. I was actually, I don't know who I was talking to. I was talking to you, I think. I said, like, I would have much rather for the last game in the Coliseum, I wish they signed Dennis Eckersley and Jose Canseco, Mark McGwire, and Ricky Henderson to one-day contracts and let them play the last game against the Yankees. It would have been absolutely fantastic. Could you imagine Mark McGwire and Jose Canseco up there trying to hit Garrett Cole? It would have been fantastic. Get that special edition, so rare card of those guys playing the last game in the Coliseum. I would have paid money for it, obviously. Got to complete the collection. So, but no, I mean, it's the end of the season. Like everything's up for grabs. And like part of the thing that we run into now is these teams that are out of the playoff chase, they're completely eliminated. Like you just don't know if they're going to rest guys. Like when are they going to shut Brady down? Like when are they going to shut Durant, Jared Durant, and Tyler O'Neill seems to be shut down already. Devers is already shut down. Like a lot of
Yeah.
these guys are pretty much done for the season. So, like I'm trying to focus more on playoff bound teams or teams fighting for playoffs. So I'm playing those Kansas City Royals, right? I'm playing those Detroit Tigers. I'm playing those Twins
Yep.
because they have to play. They need their
Yep.
best tools in there. And that brings me, the reason I mentioned the Royals is because Urseg becomes a good option at closer this year.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, Ursig looks good. I get Class A looks
They have two
good.
games though, don't they?
Oh, that's right. Yep.
Yep.
So I mean, Duran and Jax. I mean,
Yep.
if those are your best options, I would play them, but I wouldn't feel great about it. But that's obviously, I feel like they're going to lose every game the rest of the season. So, but Jack, I mean, yeah. So I'd play Jax over Duran. I played Miller. I'd play Hoffman and Estevez.
Okay, I need to pop out real quick. Be right back.
That sounds good. All right, I'm going to finish up going through these. I don't know if I'd play Chad Green. Yes, maybe Chris Martin. Are there Justin Slayton cards yet? If there aren't, we can't play him. So there's that. But yeah, no, it didn't look like a lot of great options this week for relievers. Just a lot of guys have been used 2 or 3 days out of the recent ones. All right, I'm going to check lineups really quick while Bob's gone and see who's playing or not. All right, so far today, we just have the D-backs and the Blue Jays. So yeah, Marte's not playing. Carroll and Jack Peterson look like decent plays. McCarthy hasn't been hitting, so I probably wouldn't play him. I don't know. For the Blue Jays, I don't know if I play Springer, but Vladito for sure. It's probably about all for that. All right. That is all that I know so far with that. What else did I have on my list? We've got weather. Let's check the weather for Hunter. I believe he said there wasn't much. Wasn't much to worry. Excuse me. Wasn't much to worry about. Let's share this one. We've got Atlanta weather risk. Wednesday, thunderstorm worries. Thursday, 85% chance of rain. And the Bronx looks iffy. All right. So I'm probably going to check out forecasts to see what they look like. And then the other thing I typically look at with these is the schedule. So if they're playing Thursday, they're both on Thursday. That's going to be tough. And those are all important games. So they're going to try and get them in. Yeah, I don't know how much I would downgrade guys. For sure, probably I'd avoid the pitchers. I think Sale is going on the second day, so not the last day. Not sure about New York and Baltimore's pitchers. Let's see what we've got. For pitchers, Eflin and Burns. All right, we do need Bob to come back so he can tell me what's going to happen with the Orioles and the Yankees, or perhaps the opposite of what's going to happen with the Orioles and the Yankees. I think Nestor was pitching. Yeah, Clark Schmidt and Garrett Cole. That's a decent rating from ESPN for Nestor. And they're playing at home. I guess either way, platoon-wise. But yeah, I mean, I think Nestor against the lefties in Baltimore. All right, what else we have? If there are any questions in the Discord, now is the time to ask them, because right now I don't have much to do other than check on my lineups and closers and see who I had put in there. But we can definitely do that. All right. I guess we can talk about boxes and rewards right now too. This is something I've been meaning to touch on. So, the question that has been on all of the So where MLB dorks' minds has been what's going to happen with reward boxes and credits. It looks like, based on how it's worked so far this season, if you hold a bunch of reward boxes and open them every, just under 30 days over the off season, it'll reset your credit timers, and so you'll have a bunch of credits going into next season. If you didn't watch the Friday stream and video, John came on, and John did not give a concrete answer by any means, but based on what he said, it sounded like, and we're probably going to let it play out the way it looks like it should play out as of now. Maybe they do something different for next season, but it certainly sounded like he was saying that the expectation would be save a half dozen or however many reward boxes to open so that you can carry those credits over to the new season cards you're likely going to buy. If you're watching this, you're probably someone that is gonna buy more cards next season. So that is that for me. I started finally saving reward boxes, and I started opening them. And I'm probably gonna, however many more of the just straight credits that you get. I think those are just in super rare right now, but usually if you finish top, half or top third or something like that, in most of the super rare contests, you get a credit, and so you don't even have to worry about, like, is there a card in there that I could use? So that is that's what's going on with reward boxes as far as we know. As far as Chris Sale goes, are we fading him? Oh, Velo drop recently. I saw that his results haven't been, so I guess he's been getting hit, but he's also, like, his stats that matter for fantasy have been decent. He's been striking out 6+ guys a game, hasn't been giving up a crazy amount of runs, so that maybe luck. And a Velo drop certainly would explain that. Hegel says Sale needs to pitch well for Cy Young. I don't know. He might have it wrapped up at this point. I don't think Skeens is going to get pushed hard enough to really be in consideration for it, but maybe. He's certainly been phenomenal, but I just, even if for the most part stats said Wheeler, really, yeah, I don't know. Let's compare them. Let's see. All right. That is not helpful. I did not. Doing great. We're doing great. Help. All right, we did it. That is weirdly centered. As Ace would say, this just makes for great radio. So Sale and Wheeler. The Eagle says they're close. Wheeler's got more innings. ERAs are close. ERA plus isn't. Less innings, but more strikeouts for Sale. K percent. That's a very nice K percentage. And he's walking fewer guys. Yeah, like which season is better is one question. The other is like who are the writers that vote on this going to vote for, and they're probably going to vote for Sale, right? I think they are. I guess they're. Oh man, yeah. I found their records just now. 18-3 for Sale, 16-7 for Wheeler. Yeah, no, for sure, Chris Sale's going to win the Cy Young, even if he doesn't pitch again. That's my feelings. I don't know what the odds are. If someone wants to find the odds for me. Not that we can bet in Idaho, but and not that I would ever give any sort of financial advice. Not financial advice. So that is Chris Sale and Zach Wheeler. What else do we have on the menu for today? Looked at weather. Oh, thank goodness Bob is back. All right, Bob. Do you think it's close for the Cy Young between Sale and Wheeler?
No,
like
I do not.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I think it's 100% Sale.
What if he gets blown up by the Mets on Tuesday or Wednesday, whenever he pitches? And
I don't think one game makes the difference. I think Wheeler pitched well yesterday, but he lost still. And I still think in the minds of old baseball men, wins still matter.
Yeah, that's what I said too. I went through their stats and I totally skipped over win-loss record. And then I was like, well, I wonder who won more games, right as I was mumbling about old baseball writers. And then I found it in the middle of the comparison. I was like, oh yeah, no, he's 18-3. There's no way he's losing. 18-4, and it doesn't really matter, I think. And goodness gracious, both of their ERAs are insane. Like that's crazy.
I mean, ERA plus, like everything about what Sale has done is better, honestly. And I don't think that one game really makes a difference.
Quality starts, though.
Yes. I mean, I don't know. It's just, they're great. They're both been absolutely fantastic. They're guys that I can't wait to throw out there for the playoffs. I mean, like these are two guys. Like I actually don't own a Chris Sale. And I own an old season Zach Wheeler. I've actually considered buying both of these for a good playoff run. So I don't know. And yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty clear in my eyes, at least, who's going to win this. And I think Zach Wheeler has been great. I think Zach Wheeler has had a much more consistent career-ish.
Yeah, I mean, healthier for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if you ask me in terms of SoRare, if I have the choice to start one of these guys, I'm starting Chris Sale.
That makes sense.
Even
against the Yankees or the Mets right now.
Yeah, I mean, I started Zach Wheeler last night against the Mets, and I didn't win my competition. So,
So what about? I was looking at the matchups for this weekend, and so Baltimore and the Yankees. No, it's not Burns. It's Eflin and some other guy. Who else is pitching for Baltimore?
Burns is pitching late the last game of the
week. Is he? Okay. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. So Baltimore's been bad. Honestly, they're not playing well. They're just not playing well. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody has 4 games this week, right? So
no, none.
I mean, this is why, like, going back to what I said last week about the chase. If you didn't blow up last week in the chase, you can't win.
Yeah,
because there are just 3 game weeks left for everybody. So this is just like playing the weekend. So as far as this stuff goes, Baltimore isn't.
So here's the thing, though, especially with guys probably sitting some, like the kind of silly season type stuff that happens. The guys that when we looked at it, the guys that are in limited, at least, like way out in front, it's only 40 points. And then everyone's bunched between 600 and 700, and with everyone only having 3 games, going forward, if you finish top 10 the next 2 weeks, I think that easily could vault you up, particularly if the kind of chalk plays, if they if Soto sits 2 games out of 3 or something like that, just to rest because their positions set, stuff like that. Like, I mean, I could see it happening. This is I think the weird one where I think I think generally you're right that like you got to nail the midweeks, but I think this is one where because this midweek is a weekend, really, right? Like it's 3 games. Like if there's no 4 games, like it's anything can happen, Bob.
Well, of course, but I'm just saying, like, I'm an engineer, Kev. I'm an
Yeah.
engineer, and I'm a logic guy. And with fewer games to play, your scores can't be as high. You're going to max out around like 330 or so.
Yeah, but the difference, like the difference is all that matters. So if there's those weeks where Judge puts up a 3, and who are the really bad ones this last game week?
And that's so. I mean, what we kind of need here is like, and this is a great question to ask this week, and then again next week when we do this on Friday, because it really comes down to who are going to play. So Bobby Witt's playing every single game, right?
Right.
Salvi Perez is playing every single game.
Yeah, like, and it's all lefties too, right?
Yeah, like these are the guys you actually have to think of and talk about, because there is a high probability that a guy like Juan Soto, coming off of a knee banging injury, is going to potentially sit a few games, especially towards the end, right? And they're playing Baltimore. They want to make sure that Baltimore they wrap up the East, right? So like once they wrap up the East, like, and their magic number's done, if it happens, whenever it happens, if they're still playing Baltimore, there's no reason to play these guys. And it's a really interesting thing to try to figure out. And I remember these weeks just being a crapshoot.
Yeah.
When it comes right down to it. So I again, using that same logic, I don't think the score is going to be nearly as high. I think that your San Diego Padres are going to be a great team to stack. You want your Tatis, you want your Machado,
Yeah.
I actually think that you go with a guy like Jake Cronenworth, like these are guys that will be like huge variabilities throughout the course of this, but they give you that differential. And I think that's, as far as, and this question from Hagel, I'm glad you put it up here, is a really great question. Because I think it goes back to what we were just talking about with Sale and Wheeler.
Yeah. Because and I was just about to bring up the current playoff picture to see who, to walk through the starting rotations and the, and the,
because I know who I want in my eyes when it comes to this. Yeah. And we've been talking about him before. So and Hagel brings it up because it's probably on his team that's close to home. So, but I want to see that playoff picture. Honestly, you have to get lucky and understand like who and figure out who is going to go through, because when you look at this, like I'm looking at, let's go down each team, Kev, like who you want as your main starter. So top left, Tigers, it's obviously School, right? Who is your go-to stud that you're okay starting for the Astros from a pitching perspective?
So I was just commenting on this one. Someone had asked about Framber versus Sale. And Framber's up against the Mariners this game week.
Yep.
And the Mariners have been like the 3rd best offense in baseball over like the past month. So that one's a little scary, but Framber's look good. The strikeouts have been down, but the strikeouts were like abnormally high in I think it was July and August, where he was striking out like 11 or 12 guys per 9. So, Framber, Hunter Brown has been better and more consistent. And then it's Blanco is probably the other starter in the playoffs for them, right? Is Blanco over? Are they starting Blanco over Hunter Brown?
I don't know. Like that's how much of the Astros I haven't been watching. The Astros are one of those teams that, Yordan just got dinged up, and Yordan is constantly dinged up.
Yeah, I haven't followed that at all. So is what's the word on his injury, and where are the Astros at? Are they pretty locked into their position, or are they still at risk? Are they at risk of the Mariners catching them? They're not, are they?
I don't think so. They haven't clinched a spot yet. I mean, there's only a handful of teams that have clinched. We'd have to look at the standings, but I don't know. When I'm looking at Houston, I'm not looking at their pitching staff. This is really the long and short of what I'm getting at here.
Yeah.
It's like they are not a team, no matter how far they go. I am not going to be starting one of their pitchers the entire playoff run.
Yeah.
And Hagel just said they're 5 up, so they're comfortable, right?
Yeah.
There are guys on the only other team that I feel less confident about their starting pitchers on this are the Mets. Right? Like the Mets and the Dodgers, like they don't have guys I want to start in there. So if it's a Houston Astros and an LA Dodgers,
I mean,
Series, then it's kind of right.
I mean, I've got to go back to Jordan Montgomery and Nathan Eovaldi, Brandon Pfaadt last year. Like,
Yeah.
I think it was, there's a couple different ways I've heard this said, but I think John Smoltz says, like, you get 10 starts where you feel like no one can hit you, and you get 10 starts where no matter what you do, it's going to be garbage. And it's the 10 in the middle that are kind of what make or break your season, and if some of those starts where like no one can touch you, like come in the playoffs. So like, I mean, so we've got Sean Manaea, we've got Severino, right? And then Peterson probably. Like Peterson is, if it's a lefty heavy lineup, like I guess if it's, Mets, if it ends up Mets Phillies, if things, kind of move around, like, are they going to struggle with, with Peterson, who knows? So yeah, I mean, I feel like there's pitchers on all these teams, like I would go with Framber. I would go with, if I'm trying to win, everything, yeah, like I want Skubal. I want the Tigers to go all the way, and I want Skubal pitching for me, or Reagans, or
I guess
Yamamoto, or Dylan Cease if he's dealing, or Wheeler, or Sale, or Cole if he's pitching well. I don't trust Burns, but as as a Brewers fan as well as a Twins fan, like, I mean, I watched Burns, come up, and kind of struggle to figure it out, but like, I mean, I feel terrible comparing him to Lance Lynn as well, but like, when he's spotting everything, he's just untouchable, right? Like, but he, when he loses his command, he doesn't have all of his pitches working. Like, he's not that much of an ace compared to someone like Skubal, who is just literally untouchable for a lot of guys.
And Kev, this is kind of what I'm driving at here. When I look at the wild card, if this wild card ends up there, in my eyes, there are 2 or 3 options that I feel more confident starting pitcher. And I think more people would of those. And obviously Skubal is one. I'm a big Cole Reagans fan. And I still think no matter how much you may or not like Burns, I think Burns is still a guy that can go 8 innings and get you 10 Ks.
Yeah.
I don't trust a Freddie Peralta. I don't trust a Zach Gallen. I don't trust a Joe Musgrove. Like, because at the end of the day, like, this first week of the playoff chase, like, you want to hit. You want to be in a good position going through. And
yeah.
I think it matters. And I think that you need some of this advanced logic to really plan out where you're going to go and what your options are going to be. Because as I look at the second round of playoffs here, just looking at the teams that are already there. So Phillies, Dodgers, Yankees, and Guardians, they seem all pretty locked up where they are. Mm-hmm. I only have one starting pitcher that I feel comfortable using amongst those 4 teams, and that's Zach Wheeler. I don't own a Yamamoto. You know what I mean? So like, these are the kind of things that I'm trying to calculate right now. So
for the Phillies, who's their likely number? Is it Sanchez or Nola? And would you trust Nola or Sanchez? I guess
Nola helped me win, or Nola's helped me win before in the past, but he's also killed me in the past. The question comes down to is, do you trust them enough to spend money on them to use them? That's really my big thing, right?
So if I was buying today, I had no one. Who would I buy? I actually kind of like Burns and the Orioles. I think if their bats come alive, they've at least been less terrible the past week or so, haven't they? I guess they lost a bunch of games, but like they've been scoring runs. But like, if it's the Royals at the Orioles, Burns, I think Bobby Witt is going to get his regardless, but like, it's going to be harder to touch him with the righties, with the way that the field is set up in Baltimore. And so like, I don't know that Salvi's gonna punish him necessarily. So I mean, I would like Burns going, and I don't know. The Yankees are the Yankees. I feel like it's been an up and down kind of season for them as well, where they've been super streaky at times. And I mean, but it seems like Torres and Volpe have been hitting at least like replacement level, not worse than that, which I think earlier in the season they were.
Yeah,
there's that.
well, and this is just kind of what I'm driving at, with especially when you start narrowing the field down of available players even more than we already have. You don't get those unique, slots where you're like, you know what, I'm gonna go with Ellie De La Cruz today, or I'm gonna go with a Brian Reynolds, and he's got 3 great matchups that he can absolutely smash. You don't
Right.
get those. You don't get as many of those outside guys that could totally crush, right? And so
Yep.
that's why I think it's going to be a lot tighter when it comes right down to it. And I mean, as I look at this, in my perfect, like, I have starters for Kansas City. I have Burns and Reagans, Kansas City and Baltimore. So I know I'm going to have at least one pitcher that I really like.
Yeah.
With Wheeler, right? And I know that, like, I don't feel comfortable starting a Freddie Peralta if the Brewers advance. I feel more comfortable starting a Zach Gallen.
Yeah.
Do I feel comfortable starting Zach Gallen against Kyle Schwarber and Trey Turner and Bryce Harper? No, I really, really don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so these are the fun things. I mean, I would love if this ended up like this, because then we could potentially get a rematch of San Diego and LA, and San Diego could make them look really bad again, like they did a couple years ago. So
yeah,
I
think that, I mean, it's hard not to think that the Dodgers aren't going to lose again in their first series. So I mean, whether that's Atlanta or the Mets or the Padres, like, I feel like any of them I could see going on. So it's kind of pick your poison there, whoever you like. But yeah, the Padres, they've got the pitching, they've got the bats, like they've got the bullpen. Like, they look set up for a run. The D-backs, I don't think have enough pitching. But if Ryan Nelson comes back, maybe, and then Merrill Kelly probably, is their third. Like, I could see them. I mean, I think it'd be a fun series against the Phillies for sure.
I mean, Arizona was that sleepy team last year, that quiet team. And you know what? Give me Gino, give me Corbin Carroll, absolutely smashing right now. Like,
Yeah.
Christian Walker.
Yeah.
And I mean, and Ketel Marte, like, that Arizona team is a lot of fun. A lot of fun. And these series, it's what's great about baseball. You play 162 games, you have a 5-game series. You hope you are swinging the bats, folks. If you're not, you're out.
Yeah.
Your season's done. And we see this all the time, and it's what makes it very, very cool. This is not like for all of our American viewers, this is not like the NCAA college basketball tournament where the best team wins. Like, typically, when it comes down to like the NCAA tournament, the best team doesn't win there. It's a crapshoot on a 1-game thing. One or done. It's a complete crapshoot. It's why people bet, and it's why you have tournaments, all this kind of stuff. Baseball, it's more set up, and professional sports are more set up to help you push towards the best team winning. But it's not always the case. I mean, just look what we have here. Like, these teams are fun. I don't even know how close Atlanta is, honestly, to grabbing that last playoff spot. And yeah, I mean, there's no pitcher other than Burns that I really like for the Orioles. The Braves are the Braves, man. I don't know. This is the type of year that the Braves will sneak into the playoffs like they did in, what was it, a couple years ago, and just go on a run and a heater and win it all. Like, this is just the kind of thing that they do. Ozzy Albies is back. Like, things are potentially coming together now. I mean, and it makes a big difference not having, Albies and Acuna all year for that team. And so, I mean, you have to set the bases to free up Matt Olson and Riley to swing the bat. And, there's a reason that Olson is starting to heat up again a little bit.
Yeah.
Good old White Sox. They have some of the best. Their Twitter account has been on fire lately.
Oh. Yep. Yeah.
Final score, the other team scored more runs.
Just, what? Just check the MLB website.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yep. So Garrett Crochet, would you start him as a reliever this week? No.
As a reliever? No. I mean, I don't have as a reliever card. No. I am Crochet. Just, he doesn't seem to want to be there, and I can't blame him. I mean,
I don't know if that's true.
You don't know if that's true?
Yeah.
I mean, he's had attitude issues since the All-Star game. And I mean, that team is, I mean, I'm sorry, but they are just run like a dumpster fire. Like, they look like John Fisher is their owner times 12 right now. And John Fisher of Oakland A's fame and notoriety.
Yeah.
Like the team doesn't care at all. And it's very clear. I mean, like, look at guys like
Yeah.
Luis Rivera, who was a stud coming into the year. What's he hitting, like 270 for the year with like 27 RBI or something? Like, the guy has been atrocious. Like, and so there's something wrong there, something in the water.
Yeah. So
And
I mean, it looks like he's only going to pitch 50 pitches. When he gets to 50, he's done. And that's fine. A week like this where I don't, as we were going through the reliever options, it's like a lot of the good options, are pitched out right now. So
yeah,
I might play him, I guess, if weather's not a concern. There's, I suppose, a concern that he gets bumped or just doesn't pitch, if he's like, yeah, I'm done,
Mhm.
but I feel like with a guy like that, who's had a lot of injury issues, who hasn't pitched a ton of innings, it was like this with Skubal last year, where he was coming back, and it's like, yeah, maybe the Tigers aren't, like in a playoff hunt, and so maybe they're going to rest him, but like both the team and the player, like they want to get their innings pitched up, and so if he's just like Josh Hader, like if it's just like, hey, look, I want to protect myself until I get my big contract. And these are kind of the constraints I'm putting on it. And if you don't like it, punish me, I guess. But it's like, I don't think either are unreasonable to say, for Hader to say, look, I'm just going to pitch the ninth. Like the chances of me having worse stats by having to pitch, more than one inning and all of that, are coming in different situations, coming in with runners on, just even, so, and I don't think it's that weird for Crochet to say, look, I'm going to pitch, but like he wants to get his innings pitched up so that he can, have a better chance of having a solid enough workload next season to go. So he's arbitration eligible next year. So yeah, I mean, it's, yeah, he wants to get those innings pitched up. He wants the numbers to be as good as possible. So yeah, I mean, that's how you do it, right? You don't go through a third, he's not going through the order a third time. So he's not kind of having the worst, he's cutting off the worst of his performances. Yeah. I mean, I think I'm starting him is the moral of my story. I'm putting him in a lineup.
And this goes exactly back to what I said. Like, these guys are CEOs of their own small businesses. Like, Josh Hader made a business decision, and people gave him a lot of crap for that.
Yeah.
And I think it was a smart decision. Like, I think it's actually very smart. You do what is best for you and your body and your next move, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So Jackson Jobe is coming up. I don't know how to say his last name, so I'm hoping it's Jobe.
No Jordan today.
No Jordan. That's right. So, I mean, I was kind of expecting that, right? So, so yeah, I doubt they play him. So yeah, I don't think you can, I got Jobe right. All right. So yeah, so probably not playing Jordan. Jobe will be an interesting one. So I guess DJ Local, if like, are they going to be pitching him as a starter, or are they thinking he's going to be kind of one of those, like Louis Varland or something like that, where it's like you bring him in at the end of the season, if he's already hit kind of his innings limit that you want him to get to, like you still just have him pitch. I guess I'm interested to see what happens with that, and it may already be decided, I suppose. But should we check? We can probably check MLB trade rumors and find out, right? Let's see. This is the fun that goes on when you pitch out of the bullpen. There we go.
Yeah. So John Sorer, if you're watching this, get Jackson Jobe printed right now. Pretty much everybody in this chat will buy him.
Yeah, everyone take John in the Discord right now and let him know. Maybe on Twitter, not in Discord. I feel like Discord will probably start.
Got to make money somewhere, right? No, it's. I mean, I think Hagel said it. The Braves. We'll go back to the Braves real quick. They're 2 back, and they're playing the Mets this week. Like, that is the series I want to watch. Like, that is the series that you want to load up some guys on. Like, it's either going to be a pitching duel, which I doubt. But, and Lindor is still questionable. He might not be back. He wants to be back before the end of the regular season. Right. But this week is going to really make or break a lot of what's going to happen and what Lindor is going to be able to do and how quickly they're going to have to rush him back. They lose the first 2 games of that series, they're in trouble. Like, a lot of it. And this is what the Mets do. Didn't they do this a few years ago? Like they were like 7 games up in the last like 14. They lost like 11 of 14 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yep. Good times. The hard things to do.
Nice.
So yeah, Jackson Jobe. Like that's the kind of card that I want. You know, that's the Jared Joneses of the world. I love these young guys. I absolutely love them, especially if we're gonna have to potentially use them in the playoffs. Like good fun cards to have. So,
yeah, it's an exciting time. Unless you're a Twins fan. I'm like, why am I not more excited? I'm like, oh yeah.
Ooh,
Every once in a while.
Baby Acuna.
Yeah. yeah. So yeah, he hasn't been released, right?
Let's check. I mean, I wanted to use an Acuna at some point this year, so
Yeah. Oh,
no
good
cards
stuff.
yet.
Yeah.
No cards yet.
Of course not,
So, yeah.
John. What are you doing? What are you doing, John? You have one job. It's getting us the cards we want.
Yeah, well, these are playoff cards too.
Yeah. No, I want to thank John again, though. If whether or not he's watching, like, it was great having him on. It was great. I think like everyone that I've talked to since then has been like surprised and delighted that that from how much he was willing to share. I think he and they are kind of finding that balance of this is what we can share without getting expectations out of whack and all of that. Yeah. All right. Rewards in the postseason of low minted guys help make the value last, says DJ Local. Yeah. So one thing I do want to add, though, and I don't know how much they're going to change this year, is that something I saw last year were some guys buying up, the first year cards that hadn't been released yet. But and again, I don't know if they're going to change things or not, but when I've watched the minting, particularly in the off season, So Rare 10, it seems like the way that they mint cards seems to consider all of a player's cards, and I'm sure that's changing now with the classic and in season kind of dichotomy. But it has always seemed like they look at how many cards they have as a whole, not how many cards they have for the season. And so I think what I'm trying to say is I wouldn't try and speculate on guys that are still on a team and still on a roster that don't have a lot minted this year for whatever reason, whether it was they went out for injury or whatnot. So like until he came back, Miles Straw was a guy who the Guardians DFA'd him, and I think he ended up in another organization. I think the Rangers maybe picked him up for a while. But like when someone goes to a different team, like I can see that being a situation where it makes sense, if you're putting a collection together to grab some of those guys. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do this offseason with cards and all of that. So Bob, like what's your offseason plan for going forward? I feel like we've talked about this a little, but like, are you planning to keep any of your cards? Are you totally going with 2025 cards next year?
I don't have a true plan as of yet. The issue that I'm going to run into is that I'm not going to be able to sell a large chunk of my cards because they're collection pieces, and that's fine, right? And like we don't have trade bots that I can just dump them off to for a nickel, Yeah. That's fine. So it comes down to, do you keep the guys like Ohtani and Witt and Judge for next year? And the answer is almost always yes. You keep a couple of the superstars. So you keep the superstars, it basically leaves you with nothing in terms of value. So I will probably try to move some of them, but it's probably going to be closer to the start of next season.
Yeah.
Before auctions come out, and then I'll just redo the whole entire process again, because at this point I've made more back than what I put in originally, Kevin. So it's not I'm not losing anything by taking a haircut on these cards. And that's kind of how I look at this, right? It's a long-term piece. So if I'm able to sell a couple of them and get $20 or $50 or $100, like that's just, that allows me to buy half of a Juan Soto next year.
Right.
So, but I mean, it's and so I'll do the exact same thing I did last year. And my gallery, by doing this, it's going to start getting really, really big if I can't move some of these things. And this is a good question. I mean, and at the end of the day, here you go. If I'm keeping my studs, like I don't use a lot of those other guys anyway. So, is it worth it to keep their bonuses up? Going in with a Shohei that's already sitting at 12%, into classic season comps with two multi entries is a big, big advantage over basically everybody else that's not using a classic season Shohei. And honestly, like I already have that Shohei, so he'll just be used, in champion and any other piece as well. And again, that's the advantages that I'll have there, Kev. So it
Yeah.
doesn't make sense to sell the studs, even though the studs are the guys that are actually going to give you the most money. Right.
Yeah.
So,
And especially if they do the same thing with in-season requirements next year, where it's staged, where it's, if it's, if you can use, 2 or 3 or 4, like however many classic cards, in those champ lineups, at least early in the season, like, that's not bad. I wonder how much. And so I've definitely thought about, like, could you sell a collection? Like if you've got a collection that even losing all the bonuses, would still be a 5% collection. Like I wonder how worthwhile that would be. And the reason I've thought about this, so they changed football to in-season and classic, limiting one classic. Yeah. I mean, so to some degree, I think they're going to follow a lot of the things that they do with football and MLB, but I don't think that they're necessarily going to. The same thing with NBA and MLB. Like I don't know that they're going to copy exactly kind of requirements like that. I think they are going to try and tailor them. And when we talked to John on Friday, we touched on that a little bit. And again, I would kind of take that conversation. My takeaway from that conversation would be, it'll probably be the same unless there's a reason to change it. So I think, I think it likely is similar next year where they do it in kind of stages. What do you think? Do you think that's likely or no?
I mean, I think that it makes the most sense. I want to see what they do with NBA. If they keep it the same as NBA and it's the changes start off on the baseball side, then I think that's what we're gonna have to learn. But I can tell you that they went with this in-season comp this year, and this was actually announced on the football side. They started doing it when Major League Soccer came out in the winter, last winter. So like February or so, like those cards came out. They were in season. They started making the changes somewhere around that general time.
Yeah.
February, March. And so that's what they basically used in baseball. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pay attention to what the football side does when they release their next season cards for MLS and Asia and those leagues that start early. And then I'm going to take a educated guess they're going to do the same thing with baseball. So if they say, hey, in season is you need all 5 cards now for football, then that changes the math in my head because maybe I can't use that 12% Shohei Ohtani in my champion team anymore. Although it's 7 cards per team on the baseball side, so it does make sense to at least have the one. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, and this is a good point by DJ Local, unless you want to sell an ETH, which is I sell an ETH. Like that's just what I do, just because more people accept it on the soccer side. And I've said this many times. I sell a lot of my baseball stuff to fund the soccer side, the football side of things.
Right.
That's why when I award like a William Contreras or a Jared Jones, it's like, hey guys, like I have 4 of them. If you want one, just reasonable offer.
Yeah. Though I will say, it seems to me in MLB, the cards that sit at a low price are the ones that are solely in ETH, that they won't take cash. It seems like you're going to get more for your cards if you accept cash in MLB. Yes. If you don't have Bob's network of of managers to reach out to be like, hey, who wants this card? And I don't know if there's someone that definitely wants that card.
I think that's a great point though, Kev. Like, so one of the big things that I've been talking about for the last 3 years on the football side is the community matters.
Yeah.
Our SoRare FP community has helped me sell cards. I know it's helped everybody else in this chat sell cards as well, because there's always someone in there looking for these cards. And we're all reasonable when it comes to it, and so there are guys that we're going to sell, there are other guys that we just can't, and that's okay. And and until SoRare comes up with a way for me to combine my cash and ETH wallets to basically split up the payments between the two, It's just
Yeah.
going to work that way, right? I have more of my money.
I don't think there's any chance they do that, at least as a first party kind of thing. Like they
Well,
may
no,
be able to bring in a service to do it, but
they can't do it because then they would be considered a crypto exchange, and but
Right.
there were rumblings, at least a tweet from Nico like a while back to say that they're trying to find a way to basically combine and allow these transactions to work. And it wouldn't be a combination, it wouldn't be a converting
right.
from
But using
cash to ETH. It would
using
be
both
hey,
though, right?
you have the price is X and you have X minus 2 worth in ETH. So let's get that other 2 in cash and just do a summation. They are already, especially in Europe. I mean, what we also don't know here in the States is like there are different rules in the
Right.
United States, different rules in Europe, like different rules everywhere. So like they have to be very careful of all of the regulations. And honestly, regulations change all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, as it turns out, when the people that are running things, they don't understand it and they call it a security, then you have issues, right? And so we figure out these things as they go, and they have to adjust. And luckily, it seems like they have the right lobbyists that know where things are going, so they can actually make the proper adjustments for it. So,
Yeah.
and what makes me less worried about regulation is the fact that they have these long-standing deals with U.S.-based organizations like the NBA and MLB. I think that's what
Right.
actually makes me feel more comfortable about Silver.
Yeah, no, for sure. The fact that the leagues have that buy-in
Yep.
certainly helps that, Yeah,
And
so that's good stuff.
on that note, Kev, I do have a meeting for work, believe it or not. Yes, guys, I do actually have a job, so I'm going to have to probably go do that for a couple minutes here. So
Nice.
just wanna
Thanks
say,
for coming.
Kev,
Thanks for coming on, Bob. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been great, especially since I had more than my share of problems actually getting started.
well, Kev, I'm looking forward to the talk on Friday because like we're going to have to work together as a team to figure out what are the best guys to play, what
Yeah.
teams to
Yeah.
stack. And right
Yeah,
now,
and things
I'm leading Diamondbacks, Padres, Royals. Like that's what I'm looking at right now. Like man,
Yeah.
Tigers and whoever else is fighting for that last spot. So that's where
And
I'm going.
I don't have any sort of ability to make an unbiased judgment right now. So yeah, I mean, at this point, a little bit of my so rare decisions and just kind of what I think is going to happen is based on like, well, if the Tigers do, end up in the playoffs, at least they'll be all right. So yeah, I played a lot of Red Sox this weekend, which backfired because Devers was, not playing, and Tigers and whatnot to try and at least get something out of that when the inevitable happened. All right, I'm gonna go cry for a little bit and then pick up my kid from school. It's gonna be great.
All right, guys.
Thanks
Have a good
again,
week,
everybody. Yep.